Hi, welcome. My name is Vern Barnard. I'm a photographer based here in Canada. We're in Calgary in a studio called Gallery 12. I did a piece here on Saskatchewan called Broken, Lost, Neglected, and we're going to look at some of the work that I produced for the gallery showing. The first piece is in this little room, and these pieces are trucks that I photographed, and they've all been abandoned. When it came to framing the pictures, I wanted to do them in recycled products rather than buying frames and doing it that way. So I came up with the idea of using windshields to display the images in. So the top one we're looking at is a 1950s GM truck that was just left there in Saskatchewan, and the light was falling beautifully on it, and we managed to capture this late evening. The one below it is a 1941 Chevy. This is, you can see different color tones in this one, and this is actually printed and framed in a Beatles window frame. The next piece is one of my favorites just because of the window that I used. This is the back of a car, this is the back window panel of it. This is from a 1970s vehicle as well, and I just love the angle on it. What's really cool about this is how the blue from the window worked with the image. It just really captured the image well. And so what I've done here is we've printed on metallic paper, which gives the photograph a little bit of a shimmer look to it. And then what we've done is we've laminated all the photographs of all the windshields to protect them, that if someone spilled something on them, it wouldn't damage the photograph. And it's also scratch resistant, you can't scratch the image, which helps a lot. It's the heaviest piece we have. This is 14 kilograms for this one. And both these cars are European cars, which was interesting to be found in Saskatchewan. I brought the camera in because people were asking about it. All the photographs were shot on this camera, which is a large format camera. This is a Horseman camera made in 1960. And I have two of these, and this is my favorite out of the two. And so with a camera like this, because you're shooting film, there's so many different elements and movement parts that you never know if you've got the image correct until it gets back from the lab, which can be 4 to 5 days from finishing the shoot. My next piece I'd like to talk about is an Austin Devon. This is a 1950s vehicle. My dad was into vehicles, and my dad was once trying to rebuild a Triumph, and then we rebuilt a Mini once for my brother. And so I had a love for vehicles, and finding all these old vehicles was just really cool. I love the light on this, and this is again framed on the back of a car window, not the windshield itself. So a really cool piece that I managed to do. When it came to the negatives, I want you to do something with my negatives, so if someone to look at them and realize how this all came together. So I found an old window, and so I bought the window, and a friend of mine, Herman, and I built this light box. So we took the windows, we left it as it is. The only thing we did was we took the negatives, put them in the window, and then I put a plexiglass behind it to diffuse the light so you get even light throughout the images. The second bottom one we're looking at here is a double exposure, funny enough. There's an old school, and behind it is a truck. And what happened was I'd loaded the camera, did the photograph of the school, and then got in the car and drove. And an hour later we got to this truck, and I took out the wrong film and loaded it into the camera and accidentally created a double exposure. And that was just by accident, but people loved it. It also brought the whole exhibit together with the trucks and the buildings. And this piece sold last night to a very good friend of mine who was absolutely blown away with the idea of doing something like this. So what we're going to do is we'll move to the main part of the gallery, where there's a couple of other things that we're going to look at that I produced. The last windshield that I did was one of my more dramatic pieces, which was a fire truck. And the fire truck is a long story, but basically what happened, this is a 1973 Malibu windshield, and I loved how the red just complemented with the blue of the vehicle. With this one, what happened was I photographed it, got the film back, and then realized that I had overexposed it 4 days later when the film came back from Vancouver, and so it landed up that I didn't have the shot. So I drove 1 month later back to Saskatchewan, 759 kilometers just to photograph this, and then drove back to Calgary again. And one client loved it so much. It was the first piece that sold last night, and we're shipping this off to Toronto, to Happy Home. When it came to the windows, I wanted to do something with the houses, and so I found these old windows, from a guy that was doing reno work on his parents' house, and he was throwing out all these old windows. So I took the windows from him. They still got chipping, and I didn't want to sand them down because I wanted to give the broken, lost, neglected look to it rather than doing something with them. The only thing we did was we replaced the windows just because the windows were chipped or cracked and I couldn't use that. So we replaced all the glass and then mounted the photographs in here. This older house was really cool. There was still stuff inside. You could go into the door and walk around, and there were things in the house. It was just weird. There was still a fridge. There were still things in the kitchen. It's as if someone had just got up and left and never came back. And there were a lot of this type of stuff in Saskatchewan which I'd never heard of. And it was cool to do that type of thing. The next piece that I photographed was a golf driving range. I love golf, and so we found this old driving range. We were just driving and we spotted it and stopped the car and walked up to it. And again, you could go inside and there were golf balls inside and there were golf balls in the grass, and it was just weird how this was once used as a driving range and it's just forgotten. You'll see in this one that the colors are really, really purple. The previous image, they weren't as evident, the colors weren't as evident as this one. And the reason is that we're taking transparency film, slide film to some people, and we take that film and we put it through the wrong chemicals. So your normal film, you put it through the chemicals and it creates a chemical imbalance. So if it's a really hot day, your colors will become more evident. The rays hitting your lens create different colors. So some photographs are going to be a lot purple, some photographs are going to be more yellow, and then some photographs are going to be greeny blue kind of color. But you don't know that until you get them back. And so that's what happened in this case. The next piece we're going to look at is a photograph I took in a place called Estuary. It's on the way back to Alberta, and my girlfriend and I had stopped to get an ice cream, and we were talking to a local who had said, oh, there's a ghost town, and we drove 60 kilometers to find this ghost town to photograph it. The cool thing with this is you'll see the colors are more yellowy in the front. The grass looks more real, and then the top section is a light purple. And this was late afternoon. This was at about 7:30 at night. So the rays of the sun were going to be weaker, and so it produced a much cooler looking cross-process image, which is what this style of photography is called, cross-processing. The next piece I did was the double exposure image, and this is what it looks like. This is it printed. This piece, you can see the old school in front now, and here's the Ford truck in the back. It's the largest piece I've printed out of all the homes, just because I thought it was sort of the feature piece of the whole exhibit. And this one didn't sell, funny enough, but it's my favorite. I just love the colors, I love the greens, and I love the yellow in it. Really, really strong image. My last piece, or second last piece I should say, was the porch and the deck that was falling apart. This one's really different to all the other pieces because it's more green and blue, as I suggested. So this is taken the first trip I did to Saskatchewan, and so the photograph is more green and more bluey in the sky. Again, this is taken probably midday, and it was only 16 degrees that day, so it wasn't a really hot day, and hence why the colors are very different. And it's more of a cooler photograph. It's not a warm texture, but really more cool than the others. The last piece we're going to look at is the window that I did. I bought a house door, and the door, I wanted to do one piece that was different to everything else. And so I bought this door, and I kept the hinges on the door, didn't want to remove them. There's still the old bolt that they used to close the front porch door with. And so we went and replaced all the glass on both of these panels, same as everything else. But the photograph is of the same building taken at two different angles. And what I loved about this was the windmills. The windmills caught my attention because coming from South Africa, we have a lot of windmills in South Africa with people having wheat fields and so on. And so being born in that, there's definitely a connection to it. And so I took the same building and photographed it from two different angles, and then put them into one frame. And yeah, that was it. Again, you can see cooler colors in the two images compared to the rest. And that's it. That is the 12 pieces that I produced here in Calgary, and I hope you've enjoyed your visit, and thank you for coming by, and I hope to see you again.